on this computer. So, welcome everybody. Thank you very much for joining us again for another meeting. This time it will be again in the referee's brain, and we're going to host here. We will hear from the sports psychologist Ido Heller, which is a leading sports psychologist here in Israel, and he's working with the beach volleyball team here in Israel. And he has a lot of experience, not just with sports, but with other topics, and we're going to hear from him all about that. Before we start, I want to say again, thank you for joining us. I didn't say that before, but I want to thank all of you for the support that you give us, that you give me to continue to work with these meetings, to produce them and to have them. Without you, without all of us, it would not be happening. So I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I have good support and help from Laszlo and from Sandy and from some other members. I can name everybody, all of you here in each meeting that we meet, Ramazan and Rui and Evelino, all of you. But without your help, it would not be happening. So really from my heart, I want to say thank you. If you didn't subscribe yet to our YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe, or you can see there the meetings that we do. Our channel is the World of Volleyball Referees. You can look it on YouTube, subscribe, and you can keep updated with all the information that we have. Please, if you like those videos that you see there, just push on the click button, on the like button. You can destroy that like button, so we'll have a lot of likes and we'll be popular. Invite all your friends to join us. As you know, all this information that we have and we do is very, very helpful for our work as referees, and it's a must. I think it's a must for all referees who are inspiring and want to be better and better in their work. So with this introduction, I want to pass the stage to Ido. Thank you and enjoy the meeting. Ido, it's all yours.
Awesome. So everyone can enlarge the screen that I just presented. So first of all, thanks a lot. I'll just add for what Roy just said, that I'm wearing usually two hats under the psychology umbrella. The first thing is the sports psychology field, or I work as a sports psychology consultant. I work mainly with the beach volleyball national team, but also I have a lot of Paralympic athletes clients. So that will make it very interesting because we're going to talk about Paralympic sport. So I usually love to present some stories and learn from these stories, and which will make it really, really fun because on the same time, we're going to play some sports trivia. So we're going to check your knowledge. Pick a sports field. I don't know how many of you are aware about this sports, but that's going to be a good opportunity to know or to gain some knowledge in a very unique, on very unique athletes. The second hat that I wear on a daily basis is the school psychology field. I work as a school psychologist in elementary school and several kindergarten. And I'm emphasizing it because I'm going to use a lot of examples in this presentation from the counseling therapeutic process, the parents' guidance that we're making within the educational system. Even though not all of us are parents, but I'm sure that all of us had or have parents. And so that makes it very relevant because the next 45 to 15 minutes will be all about self-psychology theory, which is based upon Heinz Coho perspective. A couple of things about Heinz Coho, that Coho was primarily concerned with the development of psychopathology. It doesn't mean that we're going to talk about pathology, but it does mean they're going to talk about a lot of parent-child relationship and how that affects us. I'm emphasizing this because in the next 45 minutes, I'll hope that everyone will make some sort of self-reflection. I don't have tips to cope with social status or anxiety in relation to social status. I don't have some sort of cliches that I'm going to say, hey, think positive and everything going to be fine once you working as a referee in top-notch games in Europe. I don't have this kind of tips, but I do have is asking all of us to have some sort of self-reflection about the things that make us feel nervous in several situations, and about the things that boost our anxiety. And at the end of it, pretty much most of our stuff, if you think about it, goes back to the relationship that we have with significant others, mainly our parents. But it also can be coaches, it can be teachers from the time that we were in the first and second grade, and so on and so on. So in the next, in our time together, it will be very, very nice if you start thinking about your past. And let's jump ahead to the first story, and let's play some sports trivia. And 10 points will get the person that will be able to name what is the name of the following game. 10 points is on the table.
You can just unmute yourself and add to your opinions.
Yeah, you can write down in the chat. We're going to talk about intimate stuff, so I'm pretty much have the confidence that not a lot of people will share some stuff like that. But you know, this is Paralympic sports, and just like I said, we're going to learn about Paralympic sports as well. So, what is the name of the following sports? If you use Google, you're only gaining 50% of the points. So without Google, it was 10 points. With Google, it's only 5. Blind ball, it's not a Veliano one, it's a goal ball. So let's put another points on the table. And for every fact that someone will be able to share about this game, number of players, some rules, some game concept, for every fact that a person will be able to share about this game, I will give him or her a single point. Let's see how many points you can win. What?
I can see that it's an indoor sport, right?
Yeah.
It's probably 5 on 5, 6 versus 6.
By the way, Roy is going to count the points. Okay, he's the one who organized the meeting, so I'll give him the responsibility to count the points, and I'm promising trophies to the winner. So single point related. It is an indoor sports. Yes, that's correct. What else?
6 on 6. It's probably not a big court.
I'm sorry, what?
It can't be too much big court, so it's going to be like 6 or 8, most likely 8 on 8.
Pretty close, but you won't get the point. It is the same size as a basketball court, so it was I think it's equal to 12 feet length, and a little bit, and I'm sorry, 12 feet for the width of the court, and 18 feet length. So that is the size of this court. Pretty much almost like basketball. What else? Come on, it's you can see that it's in the picture.
I have a one. In the ball, there's some sort of a bell.
Yes, yes. So but you only get a single half a point because they actually have 2 bells inside. So not 1, 2. Okay, so it's only half a point.
Okay.
But pretty good, because one can wonder how, I'm sorry, we're Facebook Live, so I'm not going to say the obvious word, but say how people can actually be aware where is the ball. They cannot see. They are blindfolded. So they have to hear it all the time. They have to be super sensitive to every type of noise. So having that said, one can think about another fact, which is just like tennis, unlike volleyball, during the game, the referee has to shush everyone because no one can make any sounds. There are 2 referees in this game. They have to communicate stuff to the player all the time because they cannot see anything. So it is the referee, when he whistles 2 times, that equal to a goal. When he whistle 1 time, that will be equal to start the game. And when he will stop the match, now he will have to notify everyone that there was some sort of a felony or some sort of a mistake by one of the players, which is you're going to make a penalty shootout or penalty throw to another player. So the referee here is a pretty unique job, which you don't have on volleyball. What else? What else can you learn from this game?
There's a goalkeeper.
Well, there is a center, which will lead us to the next fact, which is 3-on-3. So the person on the middle is the defense, but I won't say it's a goalkeeper because everyone here can use their hands, their body to stop a ball. I'll give you 50 points if you will be able to recall or guess which phase in which Olympics this picture was taken. That equals a lot of points. If not, we're gonna just jump ahead and I'll say the following thing. It's an honor and extremely emotional win, but I also feel hungry for gold. Silver is not good enough. John Cusco, a USA goalball player, said after smashing Brazil over a 10-1 win in the semifinals at Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. Okay, these pictures were taken from the semifinals. Despite winning second place to the Lithuanian team, unfortunately, they did not capture the gold because they lost to the Lithuanian team, which has a very, very harsh players over there. Cusco and his colleagues, his American colleagues, were hoping to boost the popularity of goalball as Paralympic sports. The game is composed of 2 teams of 3 players each. Its objective is to roll a 1.15 kilo ball with bells inside over the opponent's goal line that is 18 feet away, the same size as a basketball court. It is specifically designed for the visually impaired. Okay, so like I mentioned before, this article represents a summary of the Heinz Coho self-psychologist theory that compares the emotional challenge of a goalball athlete's ability to self-regulate and to self-soothe in a difficult situation and a person with visual impairment potential to rely on others with their needs. Because if there are one thing that is very important about this game, that is specifically designed to the visually impaired. So let's talk about visual impairments for 1 second. Usually, or I say more than 19%, those who are suffering from some sort of a blindness, which is a very large continuum because not all people are completely blind. So there is a big diversity between one person and another. It's like if you compare cameras on smartphone, some cameras has a better focus, some cameras has a better angle, so and so on and so on. So when talking about visual impairments, there are those who can see completely fine during daytime, but during the dark, they cannot see anything. Some of those can only see for 3 feet, 4 feet away. Some people will have some sort of a tunnel vision, which is kind of a very, what I'm trying to say is there's a big variety. But for most people, they will be, they are born with the genes that cause visual impairment, but they only suffer from this physical impairment when they will be somewhere during elementary school. Meaning at some point, a 2nd grade student will tell his teacher that he cannot copy the word or anything that you just mentioned, and he cannot read even the paper that she gave him. This teacher will tell the parent will take him to sort of an eye doctor, and the eye doctor will say to the parent, listen, this is not about glasses. Something is going on here, and your kid is going to lose its vision in some level or another. So there are various of emotional challenges that visually impaired people are suffering from. Obviously, everyone's intuition will lead them to think about how they can, walk around the street, how they can communicate with other people, and so on and so on. And it's very beautiful when you watch this game about some sort of cognitive skills that people with visual impairment develop. One of these cognitive skills is the ability to listen. When I work, one of my clients is the Israeli Paralympic national team, and every time that I go into their training, when I enter the gym, they actually can kind of shout, Ido, is that you? And I'm always saying, how did you know it's me? And they always say, we can recognize you by the way you walk, because those people can actually identify a person from another person by the sound that he, she makes, which is insane. It is also insane when they are asked to stop a ball, which is like a bowling, if you think about it. It's 1.15 kilos, which is equal to like 3-4 pounds ball, which people can throw it like 40 to 50K per hour, which is a lot, like 30 miles per hour. I don't know how many people would like to stop a bowling ball with their eyes closed and actually will open their eyes like this rather than do something like this and protect themselves. So it's also kind of important. The second thing that is really, really tremendous when you spot these players is the fact that they can really identify themselves and to know where they are on the field. There are some markers like tapes, which they can always feel to see if they are in the right spot. Nevertheless, I don't know, close your eyes and see if you can walk from your table to your bedroom. Even in your own apartment, it will be very, very rough thing to do. And every time that I go to their training, they're sprinting from one way to another, which is really, really amazing. Nevertheless, everything that I just mentioned does not equal to, I think, the biggest emotional challenge that those people need to focus on or need to cope. And think about it another way. In volleyball, every time that a player spikes the ball, have a beautiful block, or any other great move, they are automatically jumping all over one another, giving high fives, hugging, shouting. And every player that makes a beautiful move, the first thing that he or she does, usually, if you think about it, is looking to the other players, to his colleagues, to see how they react. And sometimes they're looking toward time they like to look about, you know, their coaches or whatever it is, because a lot of people enjoy the way other people see them. It is very similar to a 3-year-old kid that at his first time managed to use the bathroom, or managed to eat well, or managed to use his smartphone to play some sort of a game, or to build something with his Lego or whatever it is. And when a 3-year-old kid managed to do something at his first time, second time, and his third time, the first thing that he usually do is, you know, observe his parents to see how they react. Because a 3-year-old kid really need to know that he did something well. So it's very important for this kid to see his mother, you know, smiling and say something like, wow, you did it really well. You're such a grown up. You're awesome. And when this kid will turn out to be 6 or 7 years old and he will enter elementary school, the first time that he will make an A during a test, and it doesn't matter which country, he will make an A in this test, the first thing that he will seek for is his parents' acceptance or some sort of mirroring, like a reflection of a mirror, because his parents will usually say, wow, you're so awesome, you make an A, this is so incredible, and so on and so on, and maybe they will take the test and put it on the fridge, will be awesome. And when you think about it, this need for reflection or positive reflection from others, it doesn't end when we're kids, right? We always seek for some sort of acceptance from people that we care about. When someone does something well at work, usually will seek for his boss positive feedback. Other people will seek for their colleagues positive feedback. And when a referee needs to cope with all the pressure during a game, he will seek for the positive feedback of his colleagues too, because we need to be reassured that we did something well. So the same need that we are face up when we're 3-4 years old, it's the same thing like we are an adult. Nevertheless, this need is not specifically for getting acceptance from others, because if you think about it, we also need that some sort of acceptance from, you know, from ourselves. This is why a lot of people will check themselves in the mirror because they want to see that they look good. This is why 90% of the time that I specifically use Zoom, I'm checking the camera that on myself to see how I look like, because I need some sort of reflection. This is why when people go to the gym, every time they finish any type of workout, mostly for their abs, they kind of take off their shirt, check themselves in the mirror to see how they look like. And that's what we call mirroring. So, which makes you wonder what a person who is blind will do when he makes something really, really good. Because if I'm blind and I just stop the ball and I save my team, no one will know about it because my colleagues are blind too. So they have no idea that I was the one who stopped the ball. They will only know if someone make a goal or not. That's it. So I can make this tremendous save, just like John Cusco in this picture, and no one will know. And I will never be able to see my mother, my father, the crowd, my colleagues smile on their face, enthusiasm when they kind of are cheering me up. I will have to kind of find this internal strength or this internal resilience to give myself a high five. No one will know. When a 23 years old gold ball player going for a date, he will never know how his date looked at him. The first thing that everyone else is doing, you go outside the street, you're meeting someone, you automatically check the way he checking you up. They will never know. They will have to find a way to regulate and to cope against maybe one of the most emotional need for every human being, which makes you wonder, if I was blind, how I would have enjoyed social acceptance from others. Makes you wonder, right? Which lead us maybe to another kind of a nice story, the fact that Lithuania really won the gold medal in Rio, and the Turkish team did the same thing in the women's sports. But just like the famous songs of Human or Rag and Bone, the need for mirroring is very important to every one of us. So I'll ask you kind of to think about what we need or how we can use that as sort of advantage. So Coho, like I mentioned, was primarily concerned with the development of psychopsychology. His experience made him realize that the root of almost all pathologies, particularly narcissistic disorder and depression, are the primary caregivers, usually the parents' early extensive empathetic failure to children. Empathy is not about getting along nicely with another person, but to understand other people's perspective regarding certain experience. The main thing is how parents can mirror things to his kids. So just like the Snow White witch asked for some sort of mirroring in the famous storytelling from 1812, which the mirror did not give her that, because he always said, you know, the princess looks better than you. So she tried, she become very anxious, envy about that person, and she tried to create Snow White. The same thing regarding every 3 or 4 years old and as adults too. Heinz quote, and I'll tell you a story. Empathy is not about getting along nicely with another person, but to understand other people's perspective regarding a certain experience. One example is an 8-year-old swimmer or an 8-year-old volleyball player disappointed with the result of his recent competition. He's very frustrated while he's entered the car. Instead of understanding his feeling, his parents respond in something like that. There is no reason for you, Michael, to be angry. I don't know why you're frustrated. It's just a game, right? You don't need to be frustrated. We are healthy. We have food on our table. Other people have even had real problems. You shouldn't be angry because of the fact that you missed a match, or you missed a block, or you missed a serve. This is something that every one of us can say. And this scenario is illustrate a normal empathetic failure in interacting with other people. This story kind of reflects how parents make empathetic failure when they interacted with the kid. The parents responded negatively to the child's needs for acceptance, which reflect the concept of mirroring. This explained Coho's statement that self-object has a great impact on a person. Self-object reflect the fact when I'm 3 years old, usually I see my parents as me. It's very hard to understand that my parents are a unique person outside and they are not me. This explains this need should always be addressed, okay? Since a person values emotion stability, this need should always be addressed, not only on children, but on adults as well. If a child's concerned and emotions were rejected by the significant other, which in this case was his mother or his father, he may feel ashamed of how he felt. He may not stop sharing his feeling with other people. Because one time I entered the car and I tried to say something to my mother and I wanted to tell her that I really feel lousy and shitty because I missed a match or I missed a test or whatever. And my mother said something like, oh, you shouldn't be angry about that or frustrated about that. The second time that I'll want to share something with her, I'll think about what happened the previous time and I'll never say anything. I'll just kind of be there with myself. When the child reaches adolescence, a stage when the peer's influence of self-object is most crucial, he may become externally needy and anxious about how others think of him. So he pretends to be somebody else. Moreover, he will develop low self-esteem and will be extremely sensitive to failure, especially in front of other people. So here are 2 things to think about. First, just like ketchup Heinz or Heinz tomato ketchup, think about it this way. Was there any time that as a mother or as a father, we kind of sprayed with our kids when we interacted with our kids? And even more importantly, think about when others missed us. Think about the time that we were seeking from some sort of empathy from other people, which can be 20 years ago from our parents, which can be a year ago from our colleagues, and when other people missed us. Think about how that makes us feel when that happened. And maybe that will help to kind of interact better with our colleagues during the time. Because someone messed up with some call during a game, think about what our colleagues really need during that time, rather than say some sort of a criticism or whatever it is. Give me 1 second and I'll take you to the second story. I'll just gonna launch the videos here. So just 1 second here before we move on. But from the time being, does anyone have some sort of a question regarding mirroring? Okay. Just a sec. Okay, the video is not working well, so I'll just share the following stories, whatever I wanted to broadcast here. 4 years ago, I used to work as kind of a beginner psychologist in a detention facility in Boston, which was a youth detention facilities in Dorchester, which is kind of a South neighborhood, very tough neighborhood in South Boston. I actually want to share stories, not about the inmates themselves, who were 13 to 18 years old kids with some sort of theft, robbery, some sort of assault, or anything, any felony up to years jail time, but actually about those who work there as group workers or social workers or prison guards or whatever, and especially about the prison guards. The security guards in this place, if you can think about it, were not the most sophisticated people, where usually most of them were suffering some sort of low self-esteem as well. And those video that I wanted to show you was about some sort of a fight that broke out in the facilities that I work, between one of the security guards to one of the 16 years old inmate, which makes you wonder. Sometimes the manager in this facility said to all of us, if there is a fight between a security guard to one of the youth in this place, the person to blame for it is the guard itself, is not the inmate. Because a lot of the thing that is required in this job in jail is for someone to self-regulate his emotion, especially when he doesn't get some sort of a mirroring or some sort of respect from other inmates. Because in the story that I wanted to present you was the fact that one of the teenagers was really disrespect the guards, or at least the guard said that he was disrespected. He was asking for some sort of a discipline, and one of the 16 years old say something like, go to hell or whatever, and that person could not self-regulate his pressure, and he kind of answered back, and during the profanity words that everyone shared toward one another, there was some sort of a fight, which makes you wonder again, what a person can do in a very stressful environment in order to kind of be more calm, be more relaxed, and why people can have or work for so many months and even years without having a single fight or a single misbehavior as workers with the inmates, and some people within 2 or 3 days will have to respond in a way that they will be kicked out. Like I mentioned before, Coho was very concerned about the development of narcissistic disorder. So let's talk about for 1 second about that. This is the definition in the DSM, which is the Diagnostic Statistical Manual, the 5th edition of the APA, which is the American Psychological Association. As a kid, Coho said, if someone does not enjoy empathy, that is really, really need. If someone does not enjoy it when he is 5, 4, 6 years old kid, the mirroring need, which is this positive reflection from his parents, from his teacher, from his coach, he will have a very fragile self-esteem, and he will always seek for some sort of social acceptance. In one side, there are those who never need social acceptance or social positive feedback, and there are those who constantly need for some sort of reassurance. And regarding that person that caused the fight with the 16 years old inmate, you can imagine that he suffered some sort of lack of empathy. He is often envious of others and believe that others are envious of him or her, including a 16 years old kid. He always displayed arrogant and haughty behaviors. He always, when he did something well, he felt the need to kind of share it with everyone else. He was preoccupied with fantasies of success. And every time that he had a good day during the work in the prison, in the detention facility, or whatever it is, in other domain, he always felt the need to share it with everyone else. Like, I have the best car, you know, I had the better grades in college, or whatever it is. And he always had the belief that he or she is special. This is the criteria for someone who suffered from narcissistic personality disorder. Now, every one of us is on that continuum, which again makes us wonder, how much do we need others to see us in a certain way? How much do we need that others will give us positive feedback in time of need? And how much we can self-regulate ourselves alone? I want you to do some sort of a self-reflection with yourself. And I want you to remember your best sport or another domain performance. It can be anything from losing weight to finishing 10K race, to have the best game ever that you were responsible of. The winning play at school soccer match, if you want to go back 20 years ago, or it can be this math test that you aced, or whatever you want to go to. And I want you to think about this newspaper that you really adore, this newspaper that you read on a weekly basis, or this website that you always follow. And I want you to imagine that this website / newspaper will publish in his primary headline. His primary headline will be about you, about that sports performance. So again, let's imagine that 10 years ago, I had the very best time in my marathon run. And I will imagine what I will want that famous newspaper to publish in its headline that everyone will be able to see. This sports headline about me, or any type of headline about my best accomplishment ever, that everyone will read the following day. I want you to think about also that this newspaper or this website will have another type of headline about your best performance, your best accomplishment. Mine will be a private one. That will be an headline that will be sent to you in a concealed envelope and no one else will see. So again, think about your biggest accomplishment. It can be anything in the sports domain, career domain, occupational domain, as a kid, as a parent, as a brother, as a sister, is the best hobby that you have. It doesn't matter, but one of the biggest accomplishment that you think that you have. And think about two headlines that your favorite newspaper or website will publish the following day. A public one, everyone will read it. A private one, for your eyes only. Let's think about it like 60 seconds. And if anyone has some sort of a question about it, be my guest. It's kind of a personal, intimate assignment. And while you write those headlines, I want you to think about this. I asked you to reflect about a single event, a very important event in your life. I asked you to think about two headlines, a public version, which anyone will be able to see, to read, and a private one. However, the headlines are different. Some people will have a very different public version of headline comparing to the private one. And if so, why? And another thing that I want you to think about is when I experienced this big, important accomplishment in my life, and I shared it with other people, why did I share it? Why I felt the need the following day, or sometimes 5 minutes after that, to post something on Facebook, to post something on Instagram, to call my best friend, to call my spouse, to call my mother when I had this promotion in my job, when my kid did well in school, when I had this great match that I was responsible for. Why? I felt the need to share it with someone else. In particular, regarding this assignment, this headlines assignment, I want you to think about regarding the public headline, when everyone will be able to read it. Think about if there is a particular person that I want him or her to read, and why. Some people will say that following my best accomplishment in my life, or when I kind of share it with others via social media or anything else, the first image that pumps into my head, into my mind, is my father, my mother, my spouse, my kid, my grandparents who is not alive anymore, but it doesn't matter because I wanted to share in that. I wanted to tell them that. I had a person who once told me that when she graduated with her PhD, she really thought about her mother, and she really wanted to enjoy the positive feedbacks of her mother because she wanted to prove something to her that was very, very important for her, regardless of the fact that her mother is not alive or she passed away 6 or 5 years ago. That was still the first person. And so during counseling, I asked her what she symbolized to you. Why you are seeking her acceptance, her positive acceptance. What are you trying to gain? And importantly, does your self-esteem is being shattered if you will not gain that positive feedback? If people will not react as you hope, then what will happen to you? Something to think about regarding all of us, which will lead us to the third story. And again, I'll give you 10 points for anyone who will be able to mention from where, meaning which Olympics, or well, Rio is over there, but which phase or which type of sports this picture were taken from. Is it the marathon run? Is it 10K run? Is it the 400 meters, 200
short run. Maybe 100 meters.
So winning the jackpot here. So 100 meters sprint, Rio 2016. And we're checking here the sprinter David Brown when he's shooting and aiming for his gold medal 4 years ago. But if there is anything that is very unique about this sport comparing to able-bodied athletes, is the fact that you can see there is another person next to him, and his name is Avery Johnson, which is some sort of a guide that will have to run with him. And if you can spot kind of this tiniest rope, that the black rope that kind of is there on David Brown left hand and on the right hand of Avery Johnson with the orange jersey. Making sure that they will run pretty much at the same phase at the same time, and that will help Avery Johnson to lead David Brown and make him to run straight, because when you run that fast, you won't be able to make it. So it was David Brown who finished the cross line first with a tremendous result of 10:01, which is 10:06, which is the same type of result that can boost him up all the way to able-bodied athletes semifinal in Rio. So just give you perspective how fast they run. And during kind of an article several years after that in the Washington Post, Avery Johnson, you know, the guide of David Brown, says something like this: it's really hard to put in words how much you have to trust somebody when you can't see something. Brown said, it's an individual sport, but you've got to be able to depend on somebody else to help. So think about it this way. If you go for a run and you were blindfolded, and I'll ask you to run with someone else, will you trust them? And if so, what that person does to make you feel safe, what that person does to soothe your anxiety in a very high pressured environment. And if there is something beautiful when you observe, when you're watching the sports, the T11 classification, the 100 sprint T11 classification, is the fact there are 4 pairs during the final, and every guide, those person with the orange jersey, he used a different method. He used different strategy to kind of soothe other people's anxiety. You can see that Avery Johnson on the top left, he kind of grabbed David Brown's hand and put him on the ground. You can see the Japanese couple, the Japanese pair, using different strategies. They say something different, which makes you wonder again, who are the people that can help us to cope with anxiety, with social anxiety? There is another type of need that Heinz mentioned about. The first thing was mirroring. The first thing was about the fact that even adults are seeking for acceptance and social reassurance. That reflects the concept of mirroring. The second thing is that many people, all of us, they need some sort of idealization. When a 3-year-old looking toward his parents, you want to see them as their heroes. My mother can do anything. My father is a Superman. And the first time that they spot these parents cannot do a lot of stuff or cannot cope with pressure, or the first time that I see my parents cry, this is kind of usually most people unique memory or earliest memory. So I want to feel that my parents can do everything. With time, when I'm getting older, I don't need my parents to be perfect. I need them to do 1, 2, or 3 things. For every one of us is different. When I'm getting older, there are those that I feel very comfortable to trust them. There are those who reflect some sort of maybe humor, maybe some type of interpersonal skills. It could be some type of creativity. It can be some type of empathy that help us to rely upon them in a social situation. So just like I asked you to think about how come sometimes we feel the need to gain some sort of a social acceptance from others, I want you to think about who are the people that we need the most during a pressure time. Because when you go for a game and you go in as some sort of a group of 2 or 3 referees, what do you need from other people? Do you need some sort of a specific guidance? Some people will need some sort of a joke. Some people need some sort of a smile. The other people need the other person to self-regulate himself, because if I, referee A, spot that referee B is very stressful, that will make me to be very stressful too. Just like a 4-year-old, when he sees his mom yelling at the first time or upset at the first time, that will make the 4-year-old to be upset too. I need to kind of reflect with myself what helped me or what I need from other people to self-regulate my own anxiety, especially in a very high stress situation, just like when I see games. So something to think about. Task number 1. If you had to choose one character that will say to you one sentence, that can be a sentence, a moment before a race, a moment before the most stressful game that you have to manage. That can be a stressful moment that you experience in your career, not necessarily in the sports, what that sentence be. Why did you choose that person to be there on your side? How come you chose that person? And why he will need to say that sentence? What is symbolized? In crucial time, in stressful time, am I understand that others may not meet my emotional needs? Sometimes a referee needs to understand that others will not give them exactly what they want. Just like I'm asking a 5-year-old to understand that sometimes his mother will not be there for him, that his father won't be able to help him every single time. I'm asking that 5-year-old kindergarten student to be independent and self-regulate himself. I will ask for adults to boost their ability to deal with pressure time alone. So one thing to think about, how come several images or several figures will help us the most and why? And how can I gain their qualities to cope with pressure by myself? Which lead us to the 4 stories and the last one. During my work at the detention youth facility in Dorchester, Massachusetts, the manager, David Tavares, says something very interesting. He says something like this: always keep them busy. Make them do something all the time. When the youth, the teenagers get up in the morning, give them breakfast, then automatically take them to the basketball court. Once they finish basketball court, make them be very tired, take them to lunch. After lunch, used to take them to the evening or serve them dinner. Then, make sure that you have a TV shows ready to broadcast on the big screen TV in the unit. Just imagining a big basketball court when the 15-year-old American inmates, teenagers are living there. So he said, make sure that you have a great Netflix show to broadcast it. So always keep them busy. And he knew why he mentioning or emphasizing this, because every time these teenagers had time to reflect, had time to think, because they suffer from some sort of pathology, they acted with high level of impulsivity. They never had the ability to self-regulate themselves. They always needed someone else to calm them down. And every time they had time to reflect, or their internal dialogue, which we call in psychology, was usually negative. And when someone suffer from negative internal dialogue, which is very characterized of someone with depression or any type of pathology, he usually do something that reflects some sort of impulsivity, meaning he will do something, then he automatically regret. In their case, violent. They'll always be in the group from Chelsea neighborhood, tough neighborhood in North Boston, and Boston itself. 2 gangs always had violence if we didn't keep them busy. So, which makes you wonder, when you make a bad call during a game, or when you need to make high, very important call, can you take the 5, 6, 7, 8, or even 30 seconds to reflect, to think, or you just make the call without even think, acting without? During a high pressure time, does I have the ability to stop, to reflect, and take as much as time as I need, even though the 2 teams looking at me, shouting at me, and ask me to make that decision, and maybe using some sort of manipulation to make the call in their favor? That will be the time, unlike those teenagers, to take some sort of a 20 to 30 second break. Makes you wonder. If there is a psychologist, more than others, that talk about the capacity to be alone, is the American psychologist David Winnicott. I know that until now, I kind of emphasizing two needs of Heinz Coho, but we always have to talk about the psychologist too. David Winnicott was the one who always emphasizing that at 3 years old, when he doesn't manage maybe to to build something or to play with something, or when he doesn't manage to do something well, he always emphasizing the importance to boost that kid independence. And he always asked the parents wait for 60, maybe 90 seconds before the parent jump ahead and try to help their kid. If the kid, the 5 years old kid, is not able to put his shoes on or his shirt on, is getting frustrated, the instinct of the mother or the father is kind of to jump ahead and help their kids. But David Winnicott said the capacity to be alone starting when you're a kindergarten student. So always tell them or assist them by letting them to cope with this frustrating situation by themselves. When you get older and you get had the chance, when you become 9 years old, the same thing. When you're not able to solve this math problem, the teacher can help you right away, or she can let you to deal with this some sort of a cognitive task by yourself, at least for several minutes. When you are 18 years old and you have a very complex social situation, or some sort of cognitive puzzle that you need to solve, or trouble at work, or trouble with your car, or trouble as an athlete during sports, the coach, the parents, the teacher, David Winnicott said, give that person the chance to cope with things by themselves before you jump ahead and help them. Sometimes referees can feel very lonely during a game. Sometimes there are no one there to help you guys. So the capacity to be alone is not only important characteristics in sports in this stressful job, but it's also reflect the way all of self in other stressful situations. And if someone suffers from a car problem and following 5 seconds, he feels the need to call everyone for help, and he cannot even deal with the situation by themselves, that's something that we maybe need to think about. And if someone has a problem at work and he always looks for some sort of social reassurance from other people and he cannot cope by themselves, also say something about our ability to cope with other stuff. So maybe the biggest metaphor will be, if you were the people in jail, if you were in solitude, and you could have chosen one character that will say one sentence that will help you to kind of self-regulate yourself, what that sentence be. Another thing that David Winnicott used to say, if you had one object, this object can be a picture, this object can be some sort of a memory from parent, from a good vacation that you have in your past, which all the time when you look at it will make you kind of a smile and think about something. Hey, this is something to think about. What helped you guys to self-regulate your anxiety, your pressure time, your anxious time alone? Something again to reflect, which will make us to the last 2 slides and the last maybe 5 minutes of this talk that we have. There is a very interesting project in the US. It's called Back on My Feet. This project helped US veterans with, most of them suffer some sort of pathology, which can be either depression or a PTSD, which refer to post-traumatic stress disorder, or some sort of a gambling problem, or alcoholism problem, or even drug abuse situation or disorders, to stand literally back on their feet, because most of them are suffering some sort of homelessness and lack of job. This project, which is pretty much exists in every big city in the US, asked those veterans to face up in 6 o'clock in the morning every Monday, Wednesday, on Friday, and go for a run. Literally, that's it. Which is really beautiful concept, because people who volunteer in this project, like I used to do several years ago, promise those veterans, listen, if you will keep it up 2 weeks with us, or you will gain some sort of mileage, meaning you will be able to gain 10, 15 miles, you will get Snickers. If you will keep up with us for 1 month, meaning you will face up 6 o'clock in the morning in every week for the next month, then I will give you a job interview. Then we'll give you some sort of a housing assistant. Then we'll give you, and again, some sort of very concrete positive feedbacks. And this is the only way they can make those people to commit to this project. There are some people who always need positive feedback and very concrete positive feedback in order to maintain some sort of behavior. In this case, exercise regimen. And later on, keeping up with a job or paying rent and so on. They always need the approval of the environment and positive feedback. Again, I'm asking you kind of to self-reflect upon yourself. Following a good match, do I need other people to say you did a good one, you did a good job, or I can just enjoy positive feedback by myself? When I have a bad match, can I tell myself that's okay? Or are you automatically seeking for other reassurance that next match will be better? When a kid grew up and he does something well the first time, that person, that kid, that 3 years old child is always seek for his parents' approval. He needs his father to say something like, you did a great job. Like, using the bathroom for the first time, showering for the first time. But with time, you are expected that that kid will not need this positive feedback all the time. You are expected to do your homework by yourself, to clean your bed by yourself without using any type of, without enjoying your parents' enthusiastic. And when we are adults, after we passing maybe the first game, the first match that we work there as referees, yes, it's very nice to hear some sort of a nice, positive criticism from other people, but we are expected to know by ourselves when we did a good job. When people know, when I know that I did a good job and I don't rely upon others people positive feedbacks. Finishing our lecture is the following things. When people have too much desire to be seen and admired from others, when people are feeling the need for mirroring from other people, their social acceptance after their biggest success, usually it has a very positive relation, which a lot of worries about what other people think about us following and before failures. If someone always seeks for positive feedbacks from other people, following a good match, following a great day at work, very stressed regarding what other people will think about it after failures, which automatically result in being very anxious before high pressure game. So if I'll be able to enjoy my success alone, and specifically if I'll be able not to share with others and not earn respect or enthusiasm from others, at least for 24 hours following my biggest accomplishment, and with this is kind of a nice future task for everyone here. Once you do something well, will you be able to keep it for yourself? will you be able to enjoy that moment, yet no one else will know? This is the biggest maybe process goal that I can share with you to cope to later on cope with any type of social anxiety or high stress situation, like being a referee in a high pressure game. Just think about it this way: being admired by others helped me feel fantastic. This is a sentence in Robinson Patter's questionnaires for narcissistic disorder. So it's kind of a nice thing to reflect. If we really need others to think that we are so great and the best referee ever, or we just can enjoy our success by alone. The ability to fulfill our emotional needs, especially after extraordinary experience alone. To know with whom to ask for help, just like David Brown and Avery Johnson, is essential to reduce anxiety among children, endurance athletes, any type of athletes, referees, and basically all of us. So if I can give you the last future task, is to think about kind of the biggest accomplishment that you strive for, which can be in your career or as parents or as persons or whatever it is, and think about kind of a future headline challenges. What is the public headline from your favorite newspaper that you're thinking? What is the private headline that you're hoping to get? And most importantly than all, am I willing to strive for a goal, achieve it? Will I work hard to achieve my biggest goal, yet I will never be able to share it with anyone else? I always love to ask athletes, let's imagine that you will win the gold medal, but no one will know. Will you take it? Kind of a nice thing to think about what most athletes will answer, because if they will not take it, it makes you wonder, why do you need to win the gold medal? Is it for yourself, or you need something to prove? Maybe you need to prove to your colleagues, maybe you need to prove something to some sort of significant other that you used to work with or to deal with in the past. Usually people take this need to prove something to their father or to the mother or any type of significant others from their childhood. So having that said, this is it. This was kind of a 60 minutes of self-psychology of Heinz Coho, which always was concerned about psychopathology, mainly depression and narcissistic behavior. If there is any type of question, I hope that I spoke clearly about this. I think it was my first time that is doing this presentation in English. I usually do this in Hebrew, but hopefully I passed well. So I also need this reflection and mirroring from other people. It doesn't change the fact that I just talk about for 60 minutes. Every person needs a mirroring, and I always check myself in the mirror too, and I always check myself when what the other people think. So I'm sharing the microphone here, and if anyone has some sort of comments, reflection, or whatever, please be my guest.
Well, first of all, I would like to say thank you very much. It was really interesting, eye-opener, and another perspective and another point of view of our work as referees and our experience and how we do that, and to have some different opinions and points of view of how we do our stuff, and to give us some nice things to think about, how to improve it or why we are doing it, as you said. I will start. I have some questions that a colleague sent. He was not able to come online now and talk, but he sent me a couple of questions to ask you, Ido. First of all, regarding the mirroring, we used to do that as referees, as second and first referee. The second referee, when we were two referees, the first referee is on the chair and the second referee is down close to the scorer's table. And when the first referee would show his signal, the second referee would follow him and also show the same signal. The main aim was that to emphasize the communication of the decision to the spectators, but in fact it was also to support, to give some kind of support to the first referee, meaning the second referee is supporting him by mirroring his signals.
Yep.
We did it for many, many years, and then we were ordered to stop it several years ago. We ordered to stop, and now the second referee is not mirroring the signals. The first referee is doing the signal, and the second referee is standing there or stands. He has his own way of standing, but doesn't follow the first referee's signals. Some referees, and after this situation, many second referees had the trouble of adjusting to this way of working with their body language, although it is better now. Do you have any comments on this adjustment issue, how to adjust when you have such kind of changes?
Okay, so I'll say three things, and I hope that I kind of, I'll try to narrate down as much as possible, but let me rehearse just one thing that I mentioned before, and kind of generalize Coho insight to our field. We started this presentation by saying that the goalball player will not be able to see the crowd or his colleague's expression whenever he tries to stop a ball, targeted him, with travel for 30 miles per hour. He will not, no one will be aware of his performance, and while everyone is motivated when, the audience or the colleagues smile at them and say something, hey, that was a great call, make it work, it makes you wonder if someone can be alone and self-regulate himself. So, though during a game, it is tremendously important when my colleagues kind of give me this mirroring or this, positive reflection, just like I needed from my mother to give me reflection 35 years ago when I used my bathroom for the first time by myself. One of the psychological intervention that we're doing in training with the national team is actually do some sort of games in which their partner cannot say anything during the game. And when someone is having a great block or a great serve, their partner will not say anything. So if it makes or help or kind of encourage the athletes to enjoy what, his success alone, and to cope with the fact that they didn't do well alone. Because every time that he flunk in the serve, we're asking from his partner, don't say a word. Because in volleyball, athletes, they really rely on their colleagues. You can see it every time. They're high five every single point. Mm-hmm. So during training, a referee will boost his emotional stability, I think, if he will boost what Winnicott used to say, the capacity to be alone. Sometimes I need to know that my colleague will not be able to give me, that smile that I usually need. It doesn't mean that during a match, don't do it, but I need to know that sometimes my colleague will be in high pressure situation too, that he will be focused on mistake that he did 5 minutes ago, and I need to cope by myself. So maybe imagine that your best friend says something that helps you out. Maybe imagine that's something that you really need to hear from your father. Mistakes happen, shit happen. The same thing he told you 35 years ago when you messed up with the ride on the bicycle for the first time in your life, and your father was there to tell you something like this. Think about what type of sentence usually help you in the past, because those type of sentences will help you in the present. But it's all come down to the fact that I need to be able to do it by myself. So during a match, yeah, if you are able to help your partner, do it. But I need to know that you won't be all the time there for me, just like I'm asking combat soldiers to be able to be by themselves, because sometimes their friends will not be able to help them out in those high pressure situations of combat. You will have to face the pressure yourself. So it's the same strategy, it's the same mindset, and it's something for everyone to think about.
That's really interesting that we as referees, we need the approval just like everyone else. Everybody needs some kind of approval.
Just like my 5-year-old nephew. Yes.
But what about our position as the father figure in a match? Do the players look at the referees for approval? How they react when they are dismissed or punished for a fault or a bad behavior?
Oh, that's interesting. You know what? I don't think I reflected about that, but I think when an athlete feel like the referee is not confident in his decision, that kind of can make some sort of bad attitude or shatter the player confidence in the ability of the match to be objective. So if an athlete is feeling that the referee is not able to do his job well, it automatically think in the next serve or in the next point or in the next rally that if she or he will make mistakes, my thoughts, my focus, my attention, and to reflect upon that. So yeah, the confidence of the referee or the fact that he is being able to self-regulate his own pressure and, you know, being this mother that all of us need 35 years ago is very important for the athlete to remain focused on his own technique, tactical decisions, physiological ability during a match. So yeah, referee behaviors is also some sort of distraction or can really reduce the distraction that athletes experience. And I think this is the job of every referee. You need to do the job pretty much like a robot, making the best call ever and making sure that the athletes will never think about the fact that you are subjective in your calls, you're not objective. There is one team that is more favorite. I don't want a Brazilian team in Germany to think that the referees over there are kind of being manipulated by the crowd, because I want to help the athletes to be there by themselves, to be alone and to be attentive to their match. So this is kind of a different level or high level aspect that the referee, he needs to be the mother, he needs to be the father, he needs to be what Coach said, some sort of idealization for the athletes in order for them to be calm, to be relaxed, just like the mother need to be idealization to fulfill the idealization need of a 3-year-old kid. Because if the mother will be angry or yelling, automatically the 3-year-old kid will not be able to maintain calmness. So yeah, this is a very interesting and important point.
Another question that came up was that you were speaking before about automatic decisions. Mechanics, they have to be automatic. I mean, they have the decisions to do their automatic decisions. But the difficult call needs a time to think, especially if it is a punishment call or something which is very effective on the match. Do you agree that it needs the time to think and cannot be done immediately?
Just like if we'll go back and the ability for someone not to be impulsive in his decision, I think it's highly relevant to a high pressure situation too. So I think just 2 weeks ago, there was a international tournament in Ramat Gan in beach volleyball, and it was very nice to see one of the referees take his time to make a call. That was perfectly fine. That meaning reflected, he made a decision based on some sort of reasoning rather than being manipulated by the other players, call or the other crowd call or one of the coaches, and he took his time, took like 20, 25 minutes that during the semifinal maybe looked like forever, but I think it was reflection of someone who is very confident. So if you have this dilemma, I don't think one should be worried about the fact that you need to take another 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe to consult with someone else, just like in a Champions League soccer match, referees using the VAR system, and this perfectly fine. In the past, one of the criticism was that it will ruin the soccer match, it will ruin the game, it's not good. Hey, basketball referees do it all the time, and you can see in the NBA final, they sometimes will take 5, 6, 7 minutes during primetime television broadcast NBC broadcast, they will take their time and that will be fine. I don't think I ever heard any type of criticism from the coaches, from the player, if a referee took as much time as he need to make the right call. And if you can observe and learn from NBA referees, they take their time a lot. And this is one of their procedures too. And I think it's a wonderful strategy. And it just reflects confidence and ability of someone to self-regulate. Because at 4 years old, when he's not regulating himself successfully, he will just jump ahead and will make a decision, and usually bad decision. But the 4 years old that's being able to take a single breath and another breath and another one, and can go to his room, relax, and then come back to the living room and continue with the player, or dealing with his older brother to just piss him off, that will be a beautiful thing to see as a parent. The same thing during a match.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is there a set of psychological tests which can be simply applied, and they can determine if someone has the correct personality or other qualities to be a referee or at a reasonable level?
I think that for every athlete, when we talk about social acceptance or the desire for social acceptance and how that reflects for anxiety in relation to social status and what other people think about me, can be best characterized or best tested by, such as the sentences over there in the slide, like being admired by others helped me feel fantastic. This is from Robbins and Patton's superiority skills, which reflects people who suffer from some sort of very fragile self-esteem. And because of that, they tend to be very anxious during high pressure situation, just like, it can be a competition. In their case, it was students during a high profile test. Other can be from Banai, Mikuler, and Shaver, which is from Bar Ilan University in Israel, and using the same type of questionnaire, which reflects like, it is important for me to feel that a close friend and I are in the same boat. This is a very interesting questionnaire for those referees who think that their colleagues will be exactly like them. And like when I'm expected that my colleague from Turkey, while I'm from Germany, will cope with the match exactly as I'm coping with, and I won't be able to understand that, hey, other people dealing with stressful situation in a different way, other people react to different situation in a different way, just like two friends going for a hiking trip, and one of them, smash on the way to the hiking trail. They kind of made a car accident. They bumped the car. One person is kind of shouting, okay, the car is ruined. Everything is move on. We'll have to pay like $2,000. And this friend is very calm. And then there is some sort of a paradox when friend A is very upset about friend B. Why I'm upset and you're calm. We're going to pay $2,000 from this. And friend B just did not realize, hey, the fact that the other person is being calm and being relaxed, it doesn't mean that is not upset about the fact that you just bumped the car. It just means, hey, he's coping with the situation in a different way. That's it. Sometimes between a marriage couple, when, I don't know, they missed the play or they missed a show or they missed anything like a date, the wife or the husband can yell about the other person, why you're not upset? I need to realize that some people react to things in a different way. And so the Bar Ilan scale, the scale from Banai, Mikuler, and Shaver kind of reflect about that. So I can give the studies, those studies, the two studies that kind of explain and elaborate more about these skills. And that can give profound ideas how to check things, how to analyze stuff, and what to do next.
Sounds perfect. Sounds very good. The only thing that all of this that you were talking just now, it reinforces the emphasis that we received from our superiors that in the last years, they tried to make the referees' self-assessment stronger and better so that the referees can self-assess how they performed during a match at the end of the match and without having the information from others talking to them how they did or not. And
I'll give you a story. Last story it is. 2 days ago, I had this evaluation, psychology evaluation for 5 years old, that as parents have this dilemma if they if he will go next year to first grade or they will keep him another year in kindergarten. And during the evaluation, a kid is being asked to do various cognitive tests. And one of the biggest, I think, the most interesting situation is when a kid is trying to solve some sort of a problem and he doesn't really know if he did it well or not. And then you automatically look at the psychologist, in this case it was me, and ask something, did this true? Is it true? And I need to, you know, make a very tough act in a very bad manner by lying to the kid and telling him, I don't know, what do you think? And we are asking from the 5 years old to kind of think by himself if he did it right or wrong without the acceptance or the social acceptance of an adult. Just like we're asking from a first grade, second grade, or 11th grade student to know by himself if he did something right, we need to ask that from referees too. So finishing up a game, and instead of the manager or the high-notch, top-notch referee saying, okay, you did it well, you did it bad, and whatever, asking the referee itself, how did you do? And kind of reflect upon yourself. Without giving the automatically feedback can be a great strategy to kind of boost or increase one's ability. Yeah.
As long as they are honest, as long as they are honest about what they say and not trying to.
Okay, that's a different type of mirroring. Yeah, that's also something that we need to be putting a mirror in someone's face in once in a while. But this is something that really reflects transmuting internalization. And this is something very big that Heinz was talking about, that we're asking for 5 years old, 6 years old to be able to understand by themselves when we did something well. And just like someone go to the high-tech industry and the first time in making a big, business presentation, the first time he will ask his boss, did I did it well? The second time, no. You shouldn't ask that. You should do by yourself. You should know by yourself if you did something well, because you need to be independent in the field. You will need to be the one to close with clients. You will be the one to make a big business deals or whatever. I won't be able to hold your hand every time, just like your father will not be able to hold your hand when he sends you to school. Sometimes you need to learn to be by yourself. Yeah, so this is the same stuff.
Great. So anybody else with their questions? Now we can open the stage for all others. If you have any questions or anything to add, please just unmute yourself and you can ask. If somebody's still awake and well, I guess that everybody got all the information. Ido, I would like to thank you very much. Really thank you very much for all this information that you passed to us. It was very, very exciting. It was very, very interesting. I will upload this recording to the YouTube, and I will share it also to the people who would like to have the presentation. Just send the email to the mail that is written here. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Ido, really again, it was very, very interesting. Any last words, anything that you want to add?
No, I sent Roy the PDF file, so please share it with everyone else. And I can always I'll always encourage to read about, usually people always aware about Sigmund Freud and Erik Erikson and this type of psychologist, but I really encourage other people to read about other type of psychologists, more modern one, such as Heinz Coho and David Winnicott, because they're really brilliant and their series is wonderful and will help everyone to think about, the biggest mirror that someone can face up. Winnicott and Coho used to say is when you are in a relationship and you get a mirror from your spouse, which can be your wife, your husband, but the biggest mirror of all is being a parent, because the first time when your child says something to you, this is where you really get the mirror in your face. And this is the first time that you try to kind of figure it out. Man, My son is not like me. My daughter is not exactly like me. She loved to do this. I used to love, when I was 10 years old, to do something different. It always catch up the parents in a very sensitive spot. This is the biggest mirror of all. This is something that Heinz quote used to say. So again, self-reflection.
Great. Thank you very much. Again, I can always add some more thanks and thanks. We're going to have some more presentations and more meetings coming up ahead. So stay tuned on the WhatsApp group and on Facebook or wherever you get the information. Happy New Year to everybody who I didn't say or say it again. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a safe evening. Have a great year coming. And hope to see you again soon. Good night, everybody. Thank you, Ido. Toda rabba.
Thank you.
Good night. Happy New Year.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night, everyone.